Confident, Courageous, and Clear with Cheri. I'm Cheri. It's so nice to meet you. I am so excited for us to be on this journey together for the next 6 months. Sometimes things happen in our worlds and we just never know how they're going to turn out. And when this opportunity came onto my plate, I couldn't say no. Now, before we get started with our journey together for the next 6 months, I wanted to take today's episode to tell you a little bit about me, a little bit about my plans for the next 6 months, and how we can come together each and every week so that you can not only hear stories about amazing women, but learn a tip or strategy from them each week to help you live your best life. So before we get started about the show, I wanted to tell you a little bit about me. I'm Cheri Dixon from Houston, Texas. I didn't grow up here. I actually grew up in small town Iowa, where I learned when I was 6 years old that I wanted to be a school teacher. Now, not just any school teacher, I wanted to be a PE teacher because I wanted to help people learn how to live healthy lives and maybe stop the cycle of obesity. Nobody decides their career at 6 years old. I understand this. However, for me, superheroes were my teachers. They were just in disguise. My teachers made me believe that I could, number one, accomplish anything. And number two, they would always be there for me if I ever needed that backup plan or that safety measure from my life. I knew I was going to be on this path forever, but every once in a while, I would get these great ideas in my head to decide on a different career. For example, one year I thought, maybe I'll become a race car driver. And I know there was another time when I thought, maybe I'll become the mayor of my teeny tiny small town. Well, of course, those two careers did not work out for me. And I did get to college. I did get my degree. However, I did not become a PE teacher. I taught elementary education for a really long time. As a matter of fact, I am finishing my 28th year in public education. I have been not only a classroom teacher, but also a curriculum specialist, a district level coordinator, an assistant principal, and for the last 16 years, I have been the principal of 3 different schools. I typically take schools that have some kind of challenges and need to improve. And working with the community, with my colleagues, and with my students, then we are able to really make our schools come out on top. I have loved doing that job for the last 28 years. But I have to be honest, a couple of years ago when I was getting ready to turn 50, I started to have some feelings of maybe life was going to bring me more. Maybe life was going to give me something different. Maybe I needed to change my path a little bit. And so after a very close friend of mine lost her husband, I really solidified that decision, realizing that I do dedicate most of my own personal time, all of my energy, and most of my resources to public education. And I realized that I wasn't taking care of me. I wasn't giving myself opportunities for breaks or vacations. I wasn't giving myself opportunities to design my own life. And I knew I had to make a change. So I had already started blogging for women, providing tips and strategies each week on my website. And it just made sense to secure a life coach certification. And as I was planning my programs and my side business, A Girl and Her Dog Coaching and Consulting, I decided that I would focus on women like me, who had these big plans in life, but just needed the little extra support to help them get there faster and much more efficient. Well, after I got certified in May of 2022, I started my first online program. It was a program to help women think about their own mindset and really put themselves on a path to start designing a life they love. I had one client. I was so excited with just one client. And I have to say, the rest is history. From there, everything has increased, improved, and kind of started snowballing to where I have been involved in so many things over the last 9 months that I would have never anticipated would have happened to me. I was able to become part of the She Rises Studios publishing company, where I actually contributed a chapter to one of their international best-selling books, Unleash Her. It was such a great experience, and I learned so much from writing and connecting with people, other co-authors in the book, and then being able to do extra things that have had such an impact on the world. Because of course, that is my mission. I want to help women build a life they love so that my expertise, my value, and their trust in me can help them get that life quicker, more efficient, and to sustain it when they're done with my programs. Not only have I been part of the book and the summits, I've also had opportunities to guest blog post on other websites. I've started my own podcast and had some opportunities to be on other podcasts. And then all of a sudden, something miraculous fell into my lap. Now, when I started this journey, I have to be honest with you and tell you, I promised myself that I would not say no to opportunities as long as they aligned with my vision and mission. So many times we are afraid to take the first next step. So many times we have these regrets, thinking, what if I had done this? I don't want to live with regrets. I want to live my best life. And so when She Rises Studios secured Phoenix TV, and I was offered a spot with their company, I couldn't say no. I had to say yes. Just as I have been saying yes for so many new things over the last year and a half. That's how I got to you today. You are here because you found Phoenix TV as well. And I commit to you to bring you my very best each week for the next 6 months so that we can learn and grow together. Now that's my history as far as my career, my knowledge, and my expertise. Me, myself, who am I? Well, besides being a sister and a daughter, I'm also a mom. She is my greatest accomplishment. My daughter, who is currently 32, also a public educator. She teaches kindergarten. She is my pride and joy. Not only did I dedicate my life to public education, but she has my whole heart. And she means so much to me. And every day I have worked to make her proud of her mama. Besides being a mother of a 32-year-old beautiful daughter, I'm also a dog mom. You can probably tell by the name of my company, A Girl and Her Dog Coaching and Consulting, that my dog is pretty important to me. Oakley, the brown dog, is a chocolate lab pit bull mix that I found, or should I say, he found me right after my divorce. I was going through a very difficult time, and when I went to look at him at a home somewhere here in Houston. I walked in, was told he would not be the one for me, but he got right up. He came right over to me, and we have been inseparable since. Oakley has been an inspiration. He's been my best friend. And typically he's by my side whenever I record my podcast or work on my schoolwork. Today, he's sitting on the other side of my living room watching me record this session. In addition to those important roles in my life, I'm also a runner. I started running when I was 10, got away from it for a little while as I started my teaching career, came back to it in about 2005, and I've been running half marathons every year since, just as a way to not only keep myself healthy, but also to keep the stress level down. Because sometimes the best therapy is out there in my neighborhood, on the road, throwing myself into one of those grueling long runs. When I'm not running, working, or other workouts, I also enjoy learning. I'm quite a nerd, I will say that. And I do enjoy meeting people, learning from them, connecting with them, and learning everything I can to help make me the best life coach, mom, principal, person that I possibly can be. This journey is going to be amazing. So many great things have been coming to me, and my promise to you is to give you my very best. Now, I promise you I'm not perfect, and I'm going to be learning right alongside of you, because each week on our show, we'll be getting an opportunity to meet and learn from some of the most incredible women that I have had a chance to meet. I hope you are as excited about our next adventure together as I am. I cannot wait for you to see all that is to come. As I promised before our break, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what you can expect from Confident, Courageous, and Clear with Cheri each week for the next 6 months. So when I had this opportunity to come to you through your devices, I really had to think about exactly what I was going to share. So it all started with I became a blogger. And during that time blogging, and what you can find in my blog posts would be thoughts that I had about being a middle-aged strong woman. And then I added some YouTube videos, and I started a YouTube channel with my weekly posts called Strong Inside and Out. And during that time, I thought, okay, let's talk about what makes a strong woman on the inside and out. That evolved into the podcast, which is also called Strong Inside and Out. And during that time each week, I talk about different topics that I might know are currently being discussed by people in my communities, topics that I may hear on other podcasts, topics that resonate with me that week because something has happened in my own world. And I am very authentic. I bring it to you just as it is. And I try to connect that now to each of my blog posts each week. In addition to that, I became part of the She Rises Studios, as I mentioned, and wrote the chapter in the book. And the book is called Unleash Her. And my thought process with that was to really think about when was the one moment in my life that I could keep moving forward and do whatever I wanted, no matter what the circumstance was. And I call the chapter Not Crazy, Just Wanting It All, because that's exactly what happened. Is I had lots of things coming at me, and I had to decide Would I just let those things happen, or would I keep moving forward? And then I have had now experiences with Facebook Lives and some additional workshops that I'm do on YouTube, and then the program that I have developed. And I really try to focus on mindset, self-image, body image, goals, becoming you living your best life, whatever that best life is going to look like. And I really try to focus more so on middle-aged women because that's me. I can relate. So I say all that to say, when I got the opportunity through She Rises Studios and Phoenix TV to come to you through your device, I really had to think about, what could I do a little bit different? And I know that part of my journey really has been where I've come from and where I am today. And if you saw me back then, if you knew me back then, you would know that many people commented or would say that I had a lot of potential, but I was so very shy. I was so very afraid. I was so scared, had some anxiety, I would say, and I didn't see it in myself. And it made me start to think again, when was that moment when I knew I didn't want to just survive my life, but thrive in life? And that's when I had the idea for Confident, Courageous, and Clear. So, what you can expect over the next 6 months is for me to bring you stories of women who are doing some amazing things, that maybe life hasn't always been easy for them, that maybe they've been thrown a curveball or two or 10, and they still keep moving forward. They still thrive, and they're doing great big things in the world. That's the woman I want to focus on during my time with you on Confident, Courageous, and Clear. So today, you get to hear my story. I grew up in a very small town in North Iowa, and we lived very simple. My parents were teenagers when I was born, and they were trying to learn how to live life on their own. And then a baby came in the world. And then, of course, back then in the 70s, you had to get married when you had a baby. And they got married, probably should not have, but they did anyway. And we had to figure life out. And then came along two siblings of mine. So I have a brother and I have a sister. And there were 5 of us together. And I just remember little tidbits of my life before my parents got divorced. But something that really stood out to me, actually 2 things. Number 1, my mother was my biggest cheerleader for a really long time. She would tell me how beautiful I was. She would tell me how smart I was, how amazing I was, and how I knew I could do great things. Being in elementary school and starting middle school, I would have thought that I could become the president one day, because that's how she made me feel. I remember there would be nights when she would comb my hair, just brush my hair because I had very long hair back then. And she'd just tell me all of the great things she knew I was going to be able to do in my life. And it was amazing. And I was so confident. I was so courageous until I wasn't. Because what ended up happening is my mom also suffered from a lot of mental illness. That's a real thing. And not just the fact of anxiety and depression, but also a lot of self-esteem issues, a lot of body image issues. And as she became someone who got into her 30s, she just couldn't handle it anymore. And she started making some very bad choices. And one of the bad choices is that she told me about all of the bad choices she was making. Well, I knew that this person who was so important in my life had changed so much. And I knew that life was never going to be the same again. And I kind of knew what was coming. I knew that I was about to be a child of divorced parents. I knew that I was going to have a mother who dealt with some addiction kinds of problems. But what I didn't know is that she would end up physically abusing me. Now, it didn't happen regular because after it happened, I knew that I did not want to be part of that life. I was 14. And at the time, when you're 14 in the state of Iowa and your parents are divorced and your parents have custody kinds of arrangements, you can decide if you want to have visitation with your non custodial parent. And I chose not to have visitation. Now, I remember I was a freshman in high school, such a pivotal time in your life. And I remember thinking, what am I going to do? And my dad was there and I lived with my dad, but it's not like having your mom, especially as a girl. You're going through so many changes at that age, and you just need that person by your side. My world crashed in, and I felt so much betrayal. I was so scared that then I didn't trust anyone. And because I didn't trust anybody, I didn't talk to anybody about my feelings, my emotions. I didn't rely on anyone to help me build my next life. I closed myself off and I decided I would just figure it out on my own. But it also made me think, I don't know if when I grow up, I wanted a family. And I definitely knew I didn't want to repeat the life that my mother had lived. And so I didn't plan on having children. I got through high school. I got accepted to all of the colleges that I applied to. And then I ended up getting pregnant. Now, I was with my ex husband at the time. He was my high school boyfriend. We were planning a life together, but we weren't planning a child. And as I write in my chapter of Unleash Her, she is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And if I had to go back, I wouldn't change anything because I probably would have stayed with my decision not to have children and not to start a family. And what I learned along the way, because there were so many other obstacles that came upon. Once I graduated college and I was able to get my teaching job, we had to move. We moved from our small town where we knew everyone and had all of our family as support to Houston where we knew nobody. And my ex-husband had a little bit of a difficult time finding a job because he didn't have the experiences, the skills, or the education to be able to secure that job that would help us pay the bills. And we struggled financially. Then I hit another road bump 19 years later when we decided we were not going to be married any longer. Times are hard. And my story pales in comparison to so many others. But I can tell you that I learned something in all of that. And that's what I really want to share with you today. I learned that I can't control what life is going to bring you or me, but I can control how I react to it. Now, I'm not the first teenage mother out there. And if you remember at the beginning of my story, I said, Back in the 70s, it was expected if you got pregnant, you got married. I didn't want to get married because it was expected, because I had a baby. I didn't want life to dictate, to determine my next steps. I can't control what life brings, but I could control how I reacted. It wasn't easy, and I was scared most of the time. But as I called the chapter in the book, Unleash Her, not crazy, just wanting it all, that was exactly how I felt. People said to me so many times, girl, you are just doing too much. You are crazy. Just slow down. But I couldn't, because I wanted the life that I had dreamed about. And now it was even more important because I had a child, and I did not want her to see me as a failure, but as a strong woman who could handle what life brought me. That's what I learned. And that's what I put in my heart, into my soul, was that grit and perseverance to know that you can still have all of your goals and dreams come true, even when times are hard. That's my story. And each week, you're going to hear from other amazing women, as I mentioned, their story. And then they're going to give you just one piece of advice that can help you believe that you are worth it. Know that even though the road is going to be hard, you can get there. And hopefully, they will inspire you to not just live life, but thrive in life as well. So, over the next 6 months, each week, Confident, Courageous, and Clear with Cheri will drop through Phoenix TV, on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV for you to tune in or binge watch all at once. I thank you for joining me today. This truly has been a dream come true. And I'm looking forward to bringing you my very best each and every week. Now, before we go, I want to wrap up with a dedication. I am dedicating this season of Confident, Courageous, and Clear with Cheri to my best friend from high school, Dawn. Dawn and I met when we were freshmen, so clearly I was going through all of my turmoil as I secured my best friend in life. We went through so many things together, hung out together, had so much fun together, laughed together, cried together. We were there for each other through high school. We were there for each other through college. She was by my side at my wedding. And even years later, after I'd been in Houston for some time, we were able to reconnect, and it was like we didn't even miss a day. That was about 10 years ago. And it was the last time I got to see my best friend, because Dawn passed away later that year. I had gone home for a summer vacation, connected with her son, herself, my daughter, and I. We were having dinner, and she just seemed off to me. Something just wasn't right, and I said to her that I was very concerned about her health. She said to me in her own witty fashion, "Girl, you don't have to worry about me. I'm going to be just fine." Now, from that moment on, we spoke often, connected often. We were on Facebook, friends together, texted, all of the things. And then I learned that fall that she passed away. My whole world changed once again. And my heart was just hurting for her son, because he actually is such a fabulous young man. She was very proud of him. She raised him well. And although she had a lot of obstacles in her life, she never met a stranger. And I think she had one of the kindest hearts of anybody I've ever known. Dawn Lubin was taken from us way too early in life. I guess God had another plan for her. I believe she's looking down, smiling, proud of her son, proud of her friends, but she will always be in my heart. So I dedicate this first season of Confident, Courageous, and Clear with Cheri to my best friend, who I know is looking down on us each and every day. Dawn, I love you, girl. Sorry about that. Got a little choked up for a minute. But again, thank you for joining us. I know that this is going to be an amazing adventure together. I look forward to connecting with you each week. Please feel free to reach out if you have ideas, thoughts for the show, comments, feedback. Of course, positive feedback is always appreciated. But I want to bring you my very, very best. And I know I can do so each week here. So until next time, have a great week. Go out there and be confident, courageous, and clear, and build your best life.